Alright, what's up guys, Dorkspars here. Now that I've sunk quite a number of hours into Skate, I can paint a better picture of what it could look like when it decides to move away from early access to an official release. Going to start off with what's missing that the OG trilogy had, and those are the tricks. Skate 4 is currently missing a number of tricks for both Street and Vert. The ones that are missing from the library are dark slides, flip underflip variants, grab flips, and hand plant variants. These were all available to do in the previous Skate entries. My guess is they either forgot about these moves or they wanted to shorten the library of available moves. It ends up taking away from the unique properties of the Flick-It controls. Granted, Flick-It is dated by today's standards, but it was huge back in the day when the original Skate was announced, and playing it was a breath of fresh air compared to the more arcadey style of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, where tricks were performed like you were playing Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. It was announced in the roadmap that dark slides and improved hand plants will be coming next year. A little strange, but it is whatever. It'll be a welcome change. It'll be nice to finally do dark slides again. Another missing feature from Skate 4 are the pro skaters. While you could skate with other players in much smaller lobbies in the original trilogy, you could also find yourself skating alongside NPC skaters, including pro skaters like Paul Rodriguez, or P-Rod as he's better known, Danny Way, Rob Dyrdek when he was more about skating, Eric Costin, Jake Brown, Chris Cole, PJ Ladd, and many others, all of whom appeared throughout the trilogy. They would also appear throughout the map as part of tutorials, challenges, and story elements. It did a good job of immersing yourself in that world. As far as the references go to the previous games, and I'm going to assume this is to tie in or make it known that Skate 4 is still technically a sequel to the original trilogy, you'll hear V, which is your little AI companion in Skate 4, the one who talks during challenges and whatnot, or some of the characters from the missions. We'll talk about Port Carverton, which was the setting for Skate 3, and San Vanalona, which was the original setting of Skate 1 and 2. Not only are the pros nowhere to be seen, but you never even meet returning characters from previous entries, who at this time is just Slappy and Shingo. Because the world can hold up to 150 players, none of the NPCs you find in the world are skaters. They're just simple pedestrians, and during the slower times when player counts start to dip, the world becomes pretty barren due to the fact that players aren't replaced by bot skaters in an effort to help keep the world alive somewhat. Another con is the map. Skate 4's map is the smallest map to date. Not only is it a small map, but it's also round, meaning the end of the map doesn't have a cool skate park or amazing hidden skate spots like in the previous entries, which also boasted some really large maps, with Skate 2 having the best map in my opinion. Skate 4's map is entirely city-based, and it's honestly not as great as San Van City in Skate 2, which felt more like a skater's paradise. Granted, the story of Skate 2 saw San Van turn into the worst place to skate because of a company called MongoCore, which blocked off and barricaded the coolest spots to skate in, and it was up to you, the player, to free the city from MongoCore and eventually turns it into a skater's paradise, with Rob Dyrdek helping you establish an amazing skate park towards the port. Really amazing map. I'd honestly prefer Skate 3's map, and Skate 3 had the worst map in the series due to the fact that the map was sectioned off into 3 separate maps rather than having it be one seamless, transitionless, no load screens map like Skate 1 and 2. If you wanted to skate in the city, you had to load the city map before you could jump into it. If you wanted to skate in the suburbs, you had to load the suburbs map before you could load into it. Same for the industrial district. Skate 3's map overall really took away from a lot of the immersion of skating in a really large map, and I don't know why they did it like that. I don't think it was ever explained why they sectioned off the map. I don't know if it had to do with space or the size of the game, not too sure. Either way, no one liked it. I didn't like it. It was a terrible choice. Season 1 was announced, and it showed what looked like brand new spots that made people think the map is actually expanding, while others think that it's just new quick drop objects, or QDOs as they're known, and showcasing what kind of spots you can create with the existing world. I would like to think that as the game moves forward, that the map will actually expand as well as fill in areas that appear to be under construction. Because of the size of the map and how small it is, it only takes a couple of minutes to find your favorite spots and around 5 minutes or so to go from one end of the map to the other. It's just not a very intricate map with very few areas that are actually fun to skate. Players are always heading to the best spots in each district and just hanging out, skating, and adding QDOs. Overall though, the map needs to go through a lot of additions. If expansions are to be a thing, I'd even settle with other maps being added if it meant having a different environment. And frankly, Skate really needs both a suburban and industrial setting for maps. You only need around 3 hours or so to completely experience everything the current map has to offer. And yes, when I said maps, I meant just like how it is in Skate 3. Just give us another map that we can go and skate in, have that map have it feature, 150 players as well. Just we need more options for environments, because right now I've already experienced everything the city has to offer that at this point I'm kind of not over over it, but I am getting a little bit tired of it. I just want a new change of scenery. Skate 4 is missing a bit of its identity. The current map just doesn't scream skate culture. It doesn't feel like it's celebrating anything. Like, where are my favorite spots, like the college campus with the amazing vert drops, the mani pads, and the street spots with long wavy roads? Where's the elementary school with some of the best rails, gaps, and technical street spots with its own El Toro? Where's the mountain that lets you bomb down it at high speeds and connects to a vert skate park with massive half pipes that any vert skater dreams of? All this is missing from Skate 4. What does Skate 4 have to offer besides just getting onto it and skating and having a fun time, as much of a fun time as you can? I highly doubt that we will see new environments, but my opinion is that the map being as small as it is might just be the deciding factor on the game's longevity, and if the most hardcore skate players like myself will be sticking around long term, no new maps, or at least expanding the map to include new districts, will quickly lead to stagnation. QDOs, or quick drop objects, can only go so far to help keep things fresh. I'm doing a lot more QDO stuff just to kind of enhance the areas that I've been skating around the most, just because those areas have more variety as far as what you can do to skate on or where you can go and skate on. But the QDOs, some of it is getting a little bit old, and a lot of the customization items for the QDOs are just recolors rather than giving us more and more objects to work with. And the other thing too with QDOs, you only get to place 5 objects at a time. So if you're working with a party of some other players, you just keep that in mind. It's only 5 objects per player. But for people who kind of like solo stuff, I don't really play in parties often. But as a solo player, if I want to create a spot, we definitely need more than just 5 items at a time. Maybe even like, I don't know, 10 items at a time per player would be a much better enhancement rather than 5. 5 doesn't really give you a whole lot to work with, even if you're trying to add to some of the existing stuff within the map itself. It just doesn't really work. Skate is still in its early access, but it's already been announced that season 1 is coming. It's actually going to be a shorter season starting October 7th, with season 2 starting in December, and the pass is going to have over 80 rewards. But it was explained that so long as you bought the premium version of the pass, you won't miss out on the rewards if you didn't finish it before season 2 drops, as you'll be able to still work on that pass even when in a new season. Each season is supposedly adding new skatable areas. From what was shown, it's going to look more like map additions rather than map expansions, but we'll need to wait and see what these areas will look like once that season drops. The other add-ons will include more brands and cosmetics unlocked through the season pass tiers, and I'll be perfectly honest and say that Skate probably is one of the few games that doesn't need a season pass. It doesn't make any sense given the simplicity and nature of the game. Whether the cosmetics will get thrown into boxes that you can open with rip chips later on remains to be seen, as it's not mentioned anywhere if there's a silver lining for those who didn't buy the premium pass. As it stands, it comes across as you have to buy the premium pass if you don't want to miss out, but if you didn't, too bad. It's most definitely kind of a greedy form of FOMO if you're missing out. If you have the season pass, you'll be safe from later seasons and you'll be able to go back to previous seasons and reacquire those items if you have this premium pass. But if you don't, I'm gonna assume that there just really won't be a way to reacquire past items. Why they're doing it like this, I wouldn't know. I've never heard of a game where the current battle pass will not be a limited time event if you bought the premium version, but it's still a limited time event that will eventually go away to make way for the next battle pass when the new season drops if you didn't buy the premium version. Why not just follow in the footsteps of how Helldivers does their battle passes? This just doesn't make sense. You're punishing half the player base who didn't buy the pass to begin with. In Helldivers, there is no punishment. You get the battle pass whenever you want at your own pace, whether it's the one that came out when the game first dropped or the newest one. It's always going to be there. One last notable feature the roadmap mentioned is party chat for season 2. Currently, there is no voice chat, and it's already been a highly requested feature given how social focused the game is, and with 150 other players in the lobby, it would make the game a little bit more fun and enjoyable. I'd assume the voice chat will either be locked to the specific district you're in, like say if you're in Goldcrest, you're only talking to players in Goldcrest. If you're in Hedgemont, you're only talking to players in Hedgemont, so on and so forth. Or the most likely option, and probably the better option, would be proximity chat. The last thing I wanted to touch on was multiplayer modes. The mode specific to Skate has been Jam Session, which is a free-for-all in which players are given a certain amount of time within a certain area to get as many points as possible. Player with the most points at the end of the time limit is the winner. Pretty straightforward. This is a mode that's currently missing. Is it going to be the one coming out within the roadmap? We don't know yet. The next missing mode is Skate, or Horse, if you're more familiar with that game. Perform a trick or copy the trick. If you bail while trying to perform a trick, your turn is over and the next player then sets that trick. If you fail to perform performing the proper trick displayed by the previous player, you get a letter. Get skate and you're out. One of the most enjoyable modes I've played because it was more skill based and really demonstrated how well you know the flicka controls. The harder tricks to do were usually hard flips and varials since they required more precise movement of the controls to perform. Now it should be noted that because you can still create parties here in Skate 4, you can also spectate members of your party, so you could create your own version of Skate, like more like an unofficial version. It's just gotta be based more on honor rules. Obviously you have to be spectating the player and making sure they're performing the right trick. For example, if you perform a kickflip and they perform a heel flip, obviously they're gonna get a letter. But say for example you perform a backside kickflip, they have to make sure, or you have to make sure, that you're spectating that player and they perform a backside kickflip. They can't just perform a kickflip and then say it's okay. If they don't perform an actual backside kickflip, it's still a letter for them. So that's kind of where the honor rule comes in. Otherwise, you can still create your own unofficial version of Skate, but hopefully it's one of the modes coming in, but has not been announced if Skate is coming to Skate 4. Another core multiplayer mode missing from Skate that was always part of the original Skate series was death races. Death races were pretty fun, always having you start at the top of the map, usually in the suburbs or the mountain, and you would race at high speeds towards the other end of the map or halfway, usually depending on which race it was. Some races were a little bit faster than others, kind of just depending on where you were. Because Skate 4 doesn't have mountains or any actual hills, much less long stretches of road suitable for death races, it's definitely not a mode we can ever expect to see. And then lastly, the big mode that is highly requested is Hall of Meat, which was introduced in Skate 2. It's all about being a masochist and scoring points based on how badly you can fuck yourself up with the bail mechanics. Hall of Meat can easily be reintroduced as the map does have plenty of spots for Hall of Meat challenges. For some reason in Skate 4 they are referred to as stunts. I don't know why they're doing stunts and not just Hall of Meat, much less having challenges that are Hall of Meat based. Instead, they're just referred to as challenges. Could easily just rename them Hall of Meat and I think it would be fine. Although the current iteration that we have of Hall of Meat, or stunts as we should be calling them, but I'm always going to refer to it as Hall of Meat, not stunts. I don't know why they're called stunts. They're not fun. They're not enjoyable. They're not point based. It's always, oh, perform this or that and land in a dumpster, or perform this or that and go across this rooftop, go from rooftop to rooftop, that kind of thing. It feels more tedious than fun, and I've only done those challenges once and I never came back to do them. Even when they're available as part of the resets for daily challenges to get rip chips and whatnot, I just ignore them. They're not enjoyable in the slightest. Now for the last part, which is obviously the most controversial part of Skate, are the cosmetics, including decks and skateboards, trucks, wheels, whatever, all that kind of stuff. I'm fairly certain that we're never going to have the opportunity to purchase anything like this. There is never going to be, I mean, there's technically an in-game store, but that store, it basically just takes you to the microtransaction portion of the game, you know, everything that involves real currency. And then of course the boxes that you can open with the rip chips being the in-game currency that you can earn through doing challenges. Always logging in daily and completing challenges will get you those rip chips. And then of course there's also a daily task that you can do, complete 4 different tasks. You'll get 250 rip chips. And then there's also a weekly challenge. Obviously every week it'll reset, complete 4 of those specific challenges and you can get 1,000 rip chips. So there's a good amount of ways to earn those, but there's just not a whole lot of use for them, because right now when you look at the store, everything in the store is tied to real money, the premium currency, Sandvan bucks I believe is what they're called. And I just don't think we're ever going to have a portion of the store that is all freemium stuff, all rip chip based, where you can buy shirts, pants, socks, shirts, boards, you know, decks, grip tape, trucks, stickers, wheels, everything that's needed to make a skater your own. I don't think there's ever going to be a rip chip portion of that store. I think every time they release new freemium cosmetics that aren't tied to a season pass, it's probably going to get thrown into a box just from the get-go. I'm really hoping that's not the case. The boxes are fine and all, it's just there's a whole lot of filler items in there I just don't really care about. Some of the stickers are cool and all. I mean, I do like to accessorize the deck a bit with some stickers, but otherwise there's a lot of filler items in there. For me in particular, because of the art style of Skate, the way the characters look in particular due to this art style, some of the clothing items in particular for me, I don't like wearing the hats. The hats look way too disproportionate to the head. That could also be me not liking regular hats. I like wearing trucker hats, although I don't wear hats too often, but in the previous Skate games, the trucker hats always had a better fitting. Here, they just look too small. They look very disproportionate. That could also be that because of the art style, the characters have that more of that cartoony look as opposed to more of a realistic type look to them. Could also, or it could be just a combination of the two. The other thing too are the clothing options. For example, example, the hoodies, the shirts, just regular t-shirts, the button-up shirts, cargo pants, jeans, the chinos. We don't have fitting variants of each one or different size fittings for them. And what I mean by that is, I think, if I remember right, I think in one of the previous skate games, we had an option to pick between a slim fitting, regular fitting, and loose fitting. Slim fitting obviously being the smallest size of the clothing item. Then you had regular fitting, which was just a normal looking size item of clothing. And then you had the loose fitting, which was big and baggy, kind of just to give you your character some style. We don't have that here. I'm always all for games that give you customization options, allowing you to make the character your own, give them some flair, give them some personality, give them character or something like that. It may sound like a big deal, but I'm not trying to make it a big deal. It's just I do like making a good looking character, and here in Skate 4, I feel a little bit restrictive because of how many baggy items there are. There's also some regular fitting clothing, but they still kind of look a little bit disproportionate. I just would like to see some size options available and give us a little bit more variety to choose from. So to recap, new modes have been confirmed in the roadmap, most likely Jam and Skate. Hall of Meat is probably up in the air at the moment, and it's pretty obvious we won't be seeing death races make a return. The map just isn't designed for that mode. More cosmetics and brands are coming. The Battle Pass will always be available even in later seasons, so long as you bought the premium pass at the time of its release. If you did not buy the pass at the time of release and we move on to the next season, probably going to be missing out on everything that was available in that previous pass. New skatable areas are coming, which looks to be in the form of modified areas of existing parts of the map, and more legacy features including voice chat, along with quality of life improvements, UI improvements, and bug fixes. I believe the first 2 seasons is going to be a tipping point for the game's future. It's already sitting on a rocky foundation. The roadmap will determine if it will solidify that foundation or weaken it further. With all that out of the way, I'll just end the video by saying Skate is still pretty fun. I still enjoy getting on and playing for maybe, like around 45 minutes on average per day. That might be changing, and it's probably going to be less amount of time I'll be putting in per day because of the fact that I've already skated every part and every inch of this map. It's just that small. Hopefully the new seasons do kind of add some changes and kind of keep the map fresh. I doubt it's going to be huge to the point where the player retention is still going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be dwindling as time moves on, and if the seasons aren't improving as much as they probably should. All that remains to be seen. With that out of the way, this is Dorkspar signing off. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.